fluorescent lights above me buzz like angry wasps. My wrists ache where the handcuffs bite into my skin, and I can taste blood where I've bitten my lip too hard. The detective sitting across from me slides a manila folder across the scarred metal table. His expression says he's seen everything, but even he looks curious about this mess. "Mrs. Park," he says, and I flinch at the name that isn't mine. "Your husband is pressing charges: fraud, identity theft, conspiracy." He opens the folder and my stomach drops. Wedding photos spill out. Me in a white dress I don't remember putting on. Me signing documents with a name that belongs to my sister. Me kissing a man whose eyes promised destruction even as his lips touched mine. "You have one chance," the detective continues, leaning forward. "Explain why you pretended to be your sister. Explain why Korea's most dangerous CEO married a woman who doesn't exist." I look at those photos and wonder how I got here. How one stupid decision turned my life into a nightmare I can't wake up from. My reflection in the two-way mirror shows a stranger. Mascara streaked down brown cheeks. Hair that Renee spent 2 hours straightening, now a wild mess. The designer dress torn at the shoulder. "I need to start from the beginning," I whisper. The detective nods, hits record on his device, and leans back. "We've got all night." So I tell him. I tell him everything. "Welcome back to my channel, loves. Before I continue this story, I need you to do me a huge favor. This particular story is an emotional roller coaster that's going to teach you about the dangerous consequences of lies, family betrayal, and what happens when love grows in the worst possible circumstances. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button right now, smash the like, and drop a comment telling me where you're watching from. I promise you this story is unlike anything I've told before. Now let's get back to how Tina's life fell apart. 3 months earlier, I was drowning. Not dramatically, not all at once, but slowly. The kind of drowning where you're still breathing but you know you won't be for long. My studio apartment in Brooklyn had a leak I couldn't afford to fix. My credit cards were maxed out. I'd applied to 47 jobs in 2 months and gotten 47 rejections. My phone buzzed while I was heating up ramen for the 3rd night in a row. Renee's name flashed on the screen with that photo of her I secretly hated. Her in front of her office building, power suit, confident smile, everything I wasn't. "Tina, I need you." No hello. No how are you, that's Renee. "I'm kind of in the middle of something," I lied, staring at my sad dinner. "I need you to go on a date for me." I laughed, actually laughed. "What?" "A blind date tomorrow night. I have a crucial business meeting I cannot miss, and this date was set up weeks ago by some family connections and I can't cancel without causing major offense." Her words tumbled out fast, which meant she was nervous. Renee was never nervous. "So cancel, tell them the truth." "I can't. Tina, please, it's one night, a few hours. You go make small talk, come home." "I'll pay your rent for 3 months. I froze with the ramen cup halfway to my mouth. 3 months. 3 months, plus I'll give you 2,000 cash for your trouble. Tina, I'm desperate." That's what got me. Renee was never desperate. She was the successful one, the smart one, the twin who had her life together while I collected rejection letters like baseball cards. Hearing her voice crack made something in my chest tighten. "Who is this guy?" I asked. "Just someone important. Business connection." "You won't have to see him again after tomorrow, I promise." Famous last words. I should have asked more questions, should have demanded details, should have told her to handle her own mess. But 3 months of rent meant 3 months to find a job, to breathe, to not wake up panicking about eviction notices. So I said yes. God help me, I said yes. The next evening, Renee showed up at my apartment with a garment bag and a makeup kit that probably cost more than my car. "Okay, listen carefully." She pulled out a black dress that looked like it cost my yearly salary. "His name is Junjin Park, CEO of Park Industries. You've probably never heard of him because you don't follow business news, but he's huge in Korea. Like scary huge." "Scary how?" She waved her hand dismissively while applying lipstick to my mouth with more force than necessary. "Just, powerful. Rich. He has a reputation for being ruthless in business, but he's not going to murder you at dinner, Tina. Just be charming, laugh at his jokes, and make it through appetizers and entrees. You can do that." "How would someone like that agree to a blind date?" Renee's hand hesitated for just a second. "Family arrangement thing. His parents and some business associates. It's complicated. Don't overthink it." She spent 2 hours transforming me, straightening my natural curls until my hair fell sleek and perfect like hers, contouring my face, squeezing me into that dress and heels that made me 3 inches taller and extremely unstable. When she finished, I looked in the mirror and saw her staring back. "Perfect," Renee breathed. You're me. Something about the way she said it made my skin crawl, but the thought of 3 months of paid rent drowned out my instincts. She coached me in the Uber on the way to the restaurant, what to say about her job, her education, her interests. I tried to memorize it all, but it felt like studying for a test in a language I didn't speak. The restaurant was the kind of place where they don't list prices on the menu because if you have to ask, you can't afford it. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city, waiters in suits nicer than anything I owned, a hostess who looked at me like she was calculating my net worth and finding it lacking. "Reservation for Park," I said, my voice shaking slightly. Her expression changed instantly. "Of course, right this way, Ms. Park." MS Park, Renee's name, not mine. I followed her through the restaurant, aware of eyes tracking me. The dress, the heels, the version of myself that wasn't really myself. She led me to a private room in the back, slid open a door, and my breath caught. He sat with his back to the window, the Seoul skyline glittering behind him like he owned every light. Junjin Park was beautiful the way a knife is beautiful. Sharp lines, dark eyes that pinned me in place the second they landed on me. Hair pushed back from a face that could have been carved from marble. He wore a black suit that probably cost more than my entire existence, and when he stood to greet me, I realized he was tall, really tall. "You must be Renee." His voice was quiet, too quiet. The kind of quiet that made you lean in to listen, that made every word feel weighted. He extended his hand. I shook it, and his grip was firm, cool, assessing. "Yes, sorry I'm late." I wasn't late, but it felt like something Renee would say. Confident, in control. "You're not late, please sit." I sat. He sat. We stared at each other across the table, and I felt like a deer that had wandered into a wolf's den. His eyes moved over my face, studying, analyzing. I forced myself to smile. I said, because someone had to break the silence. "Renee tells me you're in business." "Renee," he tilted his head slightly. "You refer to yourself in third person." My blood turned to ice. "What? No, I meant people tell me, people say you're in business." "I see." He didn't believe me. I could see it in the way his eyes narrowed fractionally. "Yes, I run Park Industries. We focus primarily on technology acquisitions and international development. You're familiar with my company." I wasn't. "At all, of course, very impressive work. Which aspect impressed you most?" "Oh God. The international scope, very global." "Global." He repeated the word like it tasted wrong. "Yes, very global indeed." A waiter appeared, saving me from my own stupidity. We ordered. I let Junjin choose the wine because I knew nothing about wine and Renee apparently knew everything. The waiter left and the silence stretched again. "I'll be honest," Junjin said, leaning back in his chair. "This arrangement is unusual for me. I don't typically do blind dates." "Same," I said, grateful for honesty. "This whole thing feels kind of weird, right?" For the first time, something shifted in his expression, almost a smile. "Almost. Weird, yes, that's accurate." "So why did you agree to it?" The almost smile vanished. "Family pressure, business considerations, the usual reasons people do things they don't want to do." He studied me again. "Why did you agree?" "Because my sister bribed me and I'm broke." "Same." "Family expectations. Your family expects you to marry well." It wasn't a question. "My family expects a lot of things." He nodded slowly, like I'd confirmed something. "I appreciate honesty. Let me be honest with you, Renee. This dinner was arranged by my mother and several business associates who believe I need to settle down. I don't, but I agreed to meet you out of respect for those relationships. So this is, what, a courtesy dinner?" "Precisely." I should have been relieved, should have relaxed, but something in the way he watched me made my pulse race. Like he was waiting for me to make a mistake. Like he knew I was lying and was curious to see how long I could maintain the illusion. Dinner arrived. We ate, made small talk. He asked about my education, and I fumbled through half-remembered details Renee had fed me. Asked about my business, and I gave vague answers about corporate consulting that probably made no sense. The whole time his expression stayed neutral, but his eyes never stopped analyzing. Halfway through the main course, his phone buzzed. He glanced at it, and I watched his entire body go rigid. "Excuse me." He stood abruptly, walked to the window, answered. I couldn't hear most of the conversation, but I caught fragments. "When? How much?" "Block it." I said block it. When he returned to the table, his face was a mask, but I could see the tension in his jaw. "Everything okay?" I asked. "No." He sat down, pushed his plate away, looked at me with an intensity that made me want to run. "Tell me, Renee, how much do you know about corporate takeovers?" The basics. Then you'll understand when I tell you that my company is currently under attack by a rival firm attempting a hostile acquisition. They've bought up enough shares to force a board vote. Unless I can secure my position, I'll lose everything my family built. I had no idea how to respond to that. I'm sorry. That sounds awful. There's a clause in my father's will, a stipulation he added before he died. Junjin's voice stayed calm, but something dangerous flickered in his eyes. To maintain full control of the company, I must be married before my 35th birthday, which is in 72 hours. My fork clattered against the plate. What? An archaic requirement, I agree, but legally binding. My father believed marriage indicated stability, commitment. Without a wife, the board can vote to restructure leadership. With these shares already purchased, that vote would destroy me. That's insane, I breathed. That's legacy. He leaned forward and I smelled his cologne, something expensive and dark. Which brings me to a proposal. A proposal. A business proposal. A contract marriage. 6 months of your life. You play the role of my wife, help me secure my inheritance, maintain appearances for the board and media. In return, you receive $500,000 upon our divorce, plus full medical coverage, housing in my penthouse, and a monthly stipend for expenses. I stared at him. He stared back. You're serious, I whispered. Completely serious. The contract is already prepared with your name. I had it drawn up as a contingency after our families suggested this meeting. All you have to do is sign. My mind raced. $500,000. That was more money than I'd ever seen. That was life-changing money. But this was crazy. Absolutely crazy. And I wasn't even Renee. I was pretending to be Renee. If I said yes, I'd be doubling down on a lie that could destroy us both. I need to think about this, I managed. You have 12 hours. I need an answer by morning. He pulled out his phone, typed something, and mine buzzed. A document, the contract. Read it carefully. If you agree, we'll proceed immediately. If not, I'll find another solution. Another solution. I always have contingencies, Renee. You're simply the most convenient option. Something about the way he said it, so cold and calculated, made me angry. I'm not an option, I'm a person. Yes, a person. I'm offering $500,000 to help me maintain my company. Read the contract. Call me in the morning. He stood, dropped cash on the table enough to probably feed me for a year and walked out, just like that. Left me sitting there with my head spinning and a phone full of legal documents I couldn't begin to understand. I called Renee the second I got outside. How did it go? She answered on the first ring. He asked me to marry him. Silence. Then, what? A contract marriage, 6 months, $500,000. Renee, what the hell did you get me into? Wait, slow down. Junjin Park proposed to you. Not a real proposal, a business arrangement. He needs a wife in 3 days or he loses his company. He thinks I'm you. He has a contract with your name on it. Renee, I need you to tell me what's going on right now. More silence. When she spoke again, her voice was different, harder. Tina listened to me carefully. This is an incredible opportunity. An opportunity. I'm not you. I can't sign a contract with your name and marry someone under false pretenses. That's fraud. It's acting. It's a role. You're good at pretending. Remember when we used to switch places in school? This is the same thing, just with better pay. This is not the same thing at all. Tina, her voice turned pleading. I can't marry him. I'm in the middle of closing a major deal, and if I disappear for 6 months, my company will collapse. But you could do this. You need the money. He needs a wife. It's perfect. It's insane. It's a solution for both of us. Do this for me and I'll make sure you're set for life. I'll split the money with you. $250,000 each. Plus you get to live like royalty for 6 months. When has anything good ever happened to you, Tina? When have you ever had a chance like this? Her words hit exactly where they were meant to. I thought about my apartment, my debt, my endless string of failures. I thought about $500,000, about not drowning anymore. I need to think, I said, but we both knew I was going to say yes. I didn't sleep that night. I read the contract 17 times, understanding maybe half of it. Separate bedrooms. No public displays of inappropriate affection. Attendance at required events. Termination clause after 6 months with full payment. It was cold, clinical, businesslike. A marriage that wasn't a marriage. At sunrise, I called Junjin. I'll do it. Good. No surprise in his voice, like he'd known I would agree. Be at this address by noon. Bring identification and any personal items you need. We'll handle everything else. Wait today, we're doing this today. I told you, 72 hours, we've now wasted 12, every moment counts. He hung up before I could respond. The next 48 hours were a blur. Lawyers appeared with documents. I signed things with Renee's name, my hand shaking so badly the signatures looked fake. Renee met me once briefly to give me her identification and coach me on family history I was supposed to know. She looked relieved, almost excited. "This is going to work out perfectly," she kept saying. "Just stick to the story. You're me. We're engaged in a business arrangement. It's simple." Nothing about this was simple. We arrived at the registry office on day 3. Just us, 2 witnesses who worked for Junjin and an officiant who looked bored. No flowers, no music, no pretense of romance. I wore another dress Renee had provided. Junjin wore the same type of black suit he'd worn to dinner, and I wondered if he owned anything else. The ceremony took 11 minutes. I said words I didn't mean, signed a document that made me legally someone else, let Junjin slide a ring onto my finger that was so heavy it felt like a shackle. When the officiant said I could kiss the groom, Junjin leaned in and pressed his lips to mine so briefly I barely felt it. "Congratulations," the officiant said without enthusiasm. "You're married." Outside, photographers were waiting. Junjin had tipped them off for publicity. They shouted questions we didn't answer, took pictures that would be everywhere by evening, captured the moment I destroyed my own life. In the car driving to his penthouse, Junjin made a phone call. "It's done. Yes, legally binding. The board meeting is tomorrow. I'll present the marriage certificate. No, she's fine. Cooperative. Everything according to plan." He hung up and looked at me. "Your room is the second door on the left. My assistant stocked the closet with appropriate clothing in your size. We have a public appearance tomorrow evening. Dinner with board members and their spouses. I'll need you to be charming." "Charming," I repeated numbly. "Smile, laugh, let them think we're in love. Can you do that?" "I can try." "Trying isn't sufficient. You'll succeed." It wasn't a threat. Just a statement of fact. In Junjin's world, failure wasn't an option. The penthouse was stunning. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city, modern furniture that looked uncomfortable but probably cost a fortune. My room was bigger than my entire apartment, with a bed that could fit 5 people and a bathroom with heated floors. I stood in the middle of all that luxury and felt completely empty. That night, I lay awake staring at the ceiling. From down the hall, I heard Junjin's voice. He was on the phone speaking Korean. I didn't understand the words, but I understood the tone. Cold, calculating, suspicious. "Find everything about her. Background, employment history, family connections. I want to know what she ate for breakfast 10 years ago. Something's wrong. I can feel it." I pressed my face into the pillow to muffle my breathing. He knew. He didn't know what, but he knew something was off. And when he found out the truth, this contract, this marriage, this lie would explode in both our faces. I had made the worst mistake of my life, and I had no idea how to fix it. The next morning, Junjin's assistant knocked on my door at 7. Her name was Min, and she looked at me like I was a problem she'd been assigned to solve. "Mr. Park wants you ready by 6 this evening. Hair and makeup will arrive at 4. The dress is already selected." "Do you have any dietary restrictions I should inform the restaurant about?" "No," I managed, still groggy. "Good. Mr. Park also wants to see you in his office at 9. Don't be late." She left before I could ask what the meeting was about. I showered, dressed in clothes from the closet that fit perfectly because of course they did, and made my way to Junjin's home office at exactly 9. He sat behind a massive desk, typing on his laptop, and didn't look up when I entered. "Sit." I sat. Waited. He kept typing. Finally, he closed the laptop and looked at me with those dark, analytical eyes. "Tonight, you'll meet the board members who control the future of my company. They'll be evaluating you, evaluating us, deciding if this marriage is legitimate or a fraud. You'll be asked questions about our relationship, our history, how we met. Your answers need to be consistent with mine." "What are your answers?" "We met through mutual business connections. The attraction was immediate, but we kept it professional. After several months, I proposed. You accepted. We married quickly because of my father's clause and our desire for privacy." "That's a lie. That's our truth now. Memorize it, believe it, make them believe it. What if they ask specific questions I can't answer?" Then you deflect. Smile. Change the subject. Use your feminine charm to distract them. He said it like feminine charm was a tool, a weapon, something clinical and calculated. "I'm not good at lying." "Then learn quickly. My entire empire depends on your performance tonight." The weight of that statement pressed down on me. His entire empire. Thousands of employees, billions of dollars, all resting on my ability to pretend to be someone I wasn't. "What if I can't do this?" I whispered. For the first time, something flickered in his expression. Not sympathy exactly, but maybe recognition. Failure isn't an option, Renee, for either of us. You signed a contract, you took my money, now you fulfill your obligation. He stood, walked around the desk, stood in front of me. I had to tilt my head back to look at him. Tonight, you're not Tina pretending to be Renee. You're Mrs. Park, my wife, the woman I chose. Act like it. How do I act like that? He reached down, took my hand, pulled me to my feet. We stood close enough that I could feel the heat coming off his body. Like this. He pulled me closer, his other hand sliding around my waist. In public, we're comfortable with each other, familiar. You trust me enough to let me touch you. His hand moved up my spine and I shivered. You look at me like I'm the only person in the room. His voice dropped lower. Like you want me, can you do that? My mouth was dry. I don't know. Try. I looked up at him, really looked. He was beautiful and terrifying and completely closed off. But when I focused on his eyes, I saw something else. Pressure, exhaustion, fear he'd never admit to feeling. He needed this to work as much as I did. Like this, I asked softly. Exactly like that. He released me suddenly, stepped back. Do that tonight, make them believe it. And what will you do? What I always do, whatever's necessary. The dinner was at an exclusive private club where politicians and CEOs made deals that shaped countries. I wore a red dress that hugged every curve, my hair swept up, makeup perfect. I looked like Renee, like Mrs. Park, like someone who belonged in these rooms with these people. Junjin appeared in a tuxedo that made him look even more dangerous than usual. He didn't compliment me, just looked me over, nodded once, and offered his arm. Remember, we're in love, we're happy. This marriage is real. Got it. The car ride was silent. His hand rested on my knee, warm and heavy. I wondered if he could feel my pulse racing through my skin. Inside, we were greeted by a collection of older men in expensive suits and their wives dripping in diamonds. They smiled at us with teeth too white and eyes too sharp, predators assessing other predators. Junjin, congratulations on your marriage. A silver-haired man clasped Junjin's hand. And this must be the lovely Renee we've heard so much about. Yes. Junjin's hand moved to my lower back, possessive. My wife. Wife. The word sounded strange coming from him. Foreign. How wonderful. Tell me, dear, how did you two meet? I smiled, channeling every ounce of confidence I didn't feel. Through mutual connections, I was consulting on a tech acquisition and Junjin was the lead on the deal. The first time I saw him negotiate, I knew he was someone special. Love at first negotiation. The man laughed. How modern. We moved through the room and I played my part, laughed at jokes that weren't funny, discussed business I didn't understand. Let Junjin touch me casually, possessively, like I was his. And maybe I was, in a way. I'd sold myself to him for 6 months and $500,000. During dinner, a woman across from me leaned in with a conspiratorial smile. So, Renee, tell me. What's it like being married to Seoul's most eligible bachelor? Every woman in the city wanted him. Lucky, I said, looking at Junjin. He was deep in conversation with another board member, but his hand still rested on my thigh under the table. I feel very lucky. And Junjin, you're lucky too. Renee's company is doing incredible things in the consulting space. I read about your recent merger. My blood froze. Renee's company, her merger. Details I didn't know. Yes, I said carefully. It's been an exciting time. What made you decide to merge with Klein Industries specifically? I had no idea. No clue. Junjin's hand tightened on my thigh, a warning. The strategic alignment was perfect, I improvised. Our values matched and the potential for growth was significant. But wasn't there concern about cultural differences, American company, Korean leadership? Every merger has challenges. We're navigating them thoughtfully. She smiled like she knew I was floundering. Of course. Well, congratulations on everything. The marriage, the business success, you're quite the power couple. When dinner finally ended, Junjin guided me toward the exit with his hand firmly on my back. We said our goodbyes, smiled our fake smiles, and made it to the car before he spoke. You almost failed. I know. The question about the merger, you hesitated. I didn't know the answer. You should have known. Renee would have known. He looked at me, and in the dim light of the car, his expression was unreadable. Who are you really? My heart stopped. What? Something's wrong. You're not who you're supposed to be. Your answers are wrong. Your reactions are wrong. Even the way you move is wrong. He leaned closer. Tell me the truth. Who are you? I'm your wife, I whispered, because it was technically true. That's not an answer. It's the only answer I have. He stared at me for a long moment, and I was sure he was going to call the lawyers, call the police, end this whole disaster right now. Instead, he leaned back and pulled out his phone. I'm going to find out. I destroy liars, Renee. It's what I do. And when I discover what you're hiding, you'll wish you'd been honest with me now. I didn't sleep that night either. Just lay in my massive bed in my massive room and waited for everything to collapse. I wanted to call Renee, scream at her for putting me in this position, but what good would it do? I'd made my choice. Now I had to live with it. Days passed. Junjin barely spoke to me except when necessary. We attended another event, a charity gala where I wore diamonds that weren't mine and smiled until my face hurt. He kept his distance, polite but cold, testing me with small questions, watching for my mistakes. At home, I heard him on the phone late at night, speaking rapidly in Korean, always in his office with the door closed. I knew he was investigating me, digging into Renee's life, looking for the crack in our armor. It was only a matter of time. 2 weeks into our marriage, I found myself crying in the kitchen at 2 a.m, just sitting on the floor in my expensive pajamas in this expensive apartment, sobbing because I missed my life. My terrible, broke, honest life where I wasn't pretending to be someone else. "Why are you crying?" I jerked my head up. Junjin stood in the doorway in sweatpants and a t-shirt, looking more human than I'd ever seen him. His hair was messy. His eyes were tired. He looked almost vulnerable. "I'm sorry," I managed, wiping my face. "I didn't mean to wake you." "You didn't. I don't sleep much." He crossed the kitchen, opened the refrigerator, pulled out water, handed me one. "What's wrong?" "Everything." He sat down on the floor next to me, actually sat on the floor, be specific. "I feel like I'm drowning, like I'm losing myself, like I made a terrible mistake and I don't know how to fix it. The marriage, everything, my whole life, I don't know who I am anymore." He was quiet for a moment, drinking his water, then, "I know that feeling." I looked at him, surprised. "You? Every day, I run a company I inherited, I make decisions that affect thousands of people, I'm expected to be perfect, ruthless, unbeatable, and some days I just want to disappear." He met my eyes. "But we don't get to disappear, do we? We made our choices, now we live with them. Do you regret it, the marriage?" "Regret is useless, it's done. The only question is what we do next." "What do we do next?" He turned to look at me fully, and something in his expression shifted. "We survive, together. Even if we don't like each other, even if this is a transaction, we're in it now, so we survive." Without thinking, I leaned my head on his shoulder. He went rigid for a second, then relaxed. We sat there on the kitchen floor, 2 people trapped in a lie, and for the first time since this started, I didn't feel completely alone. "Junjin, thank you for this, even if it's fake." His arm came around me, slow and careful. "Maybe it doesn't have to be completely fake." I didn't know what he meant, and I was afraid to ask. So we just sat there until the sun started to rise, and for a few hours, the lie felt almost real. But the universe wasn't done destroying me yet. 3 days later, his mother showed up. I was eating breakfast when Min appeared, pale and panicked. "Mrs. Park is here." "I'm Mrs. Park." "His mother, she's in the lobby, she's on her way up." Pure terror flooded my system. Junjin had barely mentioned his mother, I knew nothing about her. Nothing about what Renee's relationship with her was supposed to be, nothing about anything. I grabbed my phone, called Junjin. He answered on the first ring. "What?" "Your mother is here." Silence. Then, impossible. "She's in Seoul." "Well, she teleported because Min says she's in the elevator right now." "I'm 20 minutes away, stall her." "How do I stall your mother?" "Figure it out." He hung up. The doorbell rang. I looked down at my outfit. Leggings and an oversized sweatshirt that was definitely not designer. My hair was in a messy bun. I looked nothing like the polished Mrs. Park who attended galas. Too late. Min opened the door and she walked in. Junjin's mother was tiny, elegant, terrifying. She wore a cream-colored suit that probably cost more than a car and looked at me like I was something unfortunate on the bottom of her shoe. "Renee," she said in perfect English with barely an accent, "how lovely to finally meet you in person." In person, they'd met before, when, how much, I was dead, so dead. "Mrs. Park," I tried to smile. "This is a surprise." "I'm sure." She glided into the living room, sat on the pristine white couch, crossed her legs. "I apologize for not attending the wedding. I was handling business in Seoul. But now I'm here, and we can have the conversation I wanted to have before my son rushed into marriage." "Of course." I sat across from her, trying to channel Renee's confidence. "Tell me about your family. I know your father is in finance, but your mother, I don't recall. What does she do?" I had no idea. Renee had never mentioned our actual parents. I'd assumed she'd created some fictional backstory for our fake wealthy family. "She's in nonprofit work," I said, hoping that was vague enough. "How admirable, which nonprofit?" "Several. She's very passionate about giving back." "Yes, giving back." "So important." She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. "And your education, you went to Columbia, correct?" "Yes." That part was true. Renee had gone to Columbia. What did you study? Business with a focus on international relations. Interesting, I heard you were in the debate club, won several awards. I wasn't. Renee was, but I had no idea what awards or when or anything. What was your favorite debate topic? My mind went blank. There were so many. Surely you remember one. International trade policy, I blurted out. Ah, yes. And what was your position on the trade agreement between the U.S. and South Korea? You must have debated that extensively. I had no position. I barely knew what trade agreement she was talking about. I was drowning again, and this time there was no floor to stand on. I argued both sides, actually. In debate club, you have to be flexible. Flexible, yes. She leaned forward slightly. You know, Renee, you remind me of someone. Not my son, not the photographs I've seen of you, someone else. My pulse hammered in my ears. Who? I can't quite place it, but something about you is different from what I expected. She stood, smoothed her skirt. Well, I should go. I'm sure Junjin will want to know I stopped by. We'll have dinner soon, all of us. Your family and ours. I'm very interested in meeting your parents. She left before I could form a response. The door closed, and I sat frozen on that couch, knowing I'd just failed a test I didn't know I was taking. Junjin arrived 30 minutes later, pale and angry. Did she ask you? Everything, my education, my family, my debate club awards. What did you tell her? I don't know, I tried, I think I messed up. You think? He paced the room like a caged animal. My mother is suspicious by nature. If she smells anything wrong, she'll investigate. She'll call your parents, your school. She'll verify every detail until she finds the truth. I'm sorry. Sorry doesn't fix this. He stopped packing, looked at me. Who are you? I told you, I'm your wife. That's not enough anymore. I need the truth, all of it right now. And I wanted to tell him. God, I wanted to confess everything, let it all collapse, face whatever consequences came. But I thought about Renee, about the money, about the contract I'd signed, about how telling the truth would destroy both of us. I can't, I whispered. Can't or won't? Both, he laughed, but it was harsh and hollow. Then we're both doomed. Because when the truth comes out, and it will, I'll make sure you regret every lie you ever told me. That's a promise. He left. I heard his door slam down the hall, and I knew I was running out of time. I called Renee, frantic. Your mother-in-law showed up. She asked questions I couldn't answer. She's suspicious. We need to end this now before it gets worse. No, Renee's voice was sharp. You're almost at the 3-month mark, half the contract. You just need to hold on a little longer. I can't. Junjin knows something's wrong. He's investigating. His mother's going to call our parents. So we coach them. We prepare them. Tina, you cannot quit now. Do you understand? You signed a contract. If you break it, you get nothing, and I need this money. My company is in worse trouble than I told you. If this falls through, I lose everything. What do you mean worse trouble? She hesitated. We're being investigated for fraud. If I don't have capital to settle some debts, I'm going to prison. That's why I needed you to do this. That's why you have to see it through. The world tilted. You lied to me. I protected you. If you'd known the truth, you never would have agreed. You're right. I wouldn't have, because this is insane. Tina, please, I'm your sister, your twin. We're supposed to help each other, just 3 more months. Then you're free and we're both safe. And what if Junjin finds out before then? He won't. Just be more careful. Study everything about my life. Become me. You can do this. She hung up before I could argue. I sat there holding my phone, realizing that I wasn't just trapped in a lie. I was trapped in my sister's crime. And when it all fell apart, I'd be the one paying the price. That night, Junjin didn't come home. Or the next night. Or the night after that. Min told me he was staying at the office, working on a crucial deal. But I knew the truth. He was avoiding me because every time he looked at me, he saw someone who wasn't real. On the 4th night, I couldn't take it anymore. I went to his office building, flashed the Mrs. Park credentials that got me past security, and took the elevator to the top floor. His assistant tried to stop me. Mr. Park is in a meeting. I'm his wife. He'll see me. I pushed past her and into his office. He was alone, staring at his computer screen, and when he looked up, I saw something in his eyes that made my chest ache. Hurt. He looked hurt. What do you want? He asked quietly. To talk, really talk. We have nothing to say. Please, Junjin, I know you're angry. I know you don't trust me, but we're in this together. We made a deal. Can't we at least try to make it work? He stood slowly, came around his desk. You want to make it work? Fine. Answer one question honestly, just one. And depending on your answer, maybe we can move forward. Okay. Who are you? I opened my mouth, closed it. The truth sat on my tongue, heavy and terrifying. If I told him, everything would end. But if I kept lying, I'd lose something else. Something I didn't even know I had until this moment. I'm someone who made a mistake, I said finally. Someone who's in way over her head, someone who's trying her best and failing miserably. But I'm also someone who's starting to care about you, and that terrifies me more than anything. He stared at me for a long moment. Then he crossed the distance between us in 2 strides, grabbed my face in both hands, and kissed me. Not like the fake kiss at our wedding. Not for show, not for cameras. Real and desperate and consuming. His mouth moved against mine like he was trying to find answers in the space between us. I kissed him back, my hands fisting in his shirt, pulling him closer. It felt like falling and flying at the same time. When he pulled back, we were both breathing hard. I don't trust you, he said against my lips. I don't believe you, but God help me, I want to. Then want to, choose to, just for tonight. He kissed me again, and this time he didn't stop. His hands moved to my waist, my back, tangling in my hair. I let him walk me backward until my back hit his desk. Papers scattered. His computer beeped. Neither of us cared. If I find out you've been lying to me, he murmured between kisses, I'll ruin you. I know. I'll destroy everything you love. I know. And I won't feel guilty about it. I know. He lifted me onto the desk, stood between my legs, looked at me with those dark, devastating eyes. Then why do I feel like I'm the one being destroyed? I didn't have an answer, so I kissed him instead, and for a few hours we stopped pretending. But reality has a way of crashing back in. I woke up the next morning in his bed in his penthouse with his arm around me and sunlight streaming through the windows. For a moment I forgot the lie, the contract, the disaster waiting to happen. I just let myself feel warm and safe and wanted. Then my phone rang. Renee's name flashed on the screen. I slipped out of bed carefully, grabbed the phone, went into the bathroom. What? We have a problem. What now? Someone leaked information about my company. The investigation went public. It's all over the news. My name, my company, everything. My blood ran cold. What does that mean for us? It means people are going to start digging into my background, my family, my personal life, and they're going to find out about you, about the marriage. But I'm using your name, your identity. They'll verify pictures, records, previous relationships. Someone's going to notice the woman married to Junjin Park doesn't quite match the woman who ran a company. We're exposed, Tina. It's over. The bathroom door opened. Junjin stood there, shirtless, looking beautiful and sleep-rumpled and about to have his life destroyed. I'll call you back, I whispered and hung up. Who was that? He asked. No one, wrong number. He looked at my face and I watched his expression close off. You're lying again. Junjin, get out. Please just listen. Get out. His voice was ice. Out of this bathroom, out of my room, out of my life. I'm done. Whatever game you're playing, it's over. It's not a game. Then what is it? What are you hiding? Everything. I'm hiding everything, but I couldn't say it, couldn't watch him hate me, so I did what I always did. I ran. I went back to my room, packed a bag with shaking hands, and was halfway to the door when Min appeared. Mrs. Park, where are you going? Away, tell Junjin I'm sorry. Mr. Park asked me to give you this. She handed me an envelope. Inside was a document, a report, and as I read it, the room started spinning. It was an investigation into Renee, her company, her fraud, her lies, but more than that, it was an investigation into me. My real name, my real background. My real identity, everything. At the bottom, a note in Junjin's handwriting. I know who you are, Tina. I've known for weeks, and now you're going to tell me why. He'd known. The whole time he'd known. And he'd been watching me, testing me, waiting for me to confess. I'd failed every test. I found him in his office, standing at the window, looking out at the city he owned. You knew, I said. I knew. How long? 2 weeks after the wedding. My investigator found discrepancies, wrong fingerprints on file, DNA that didn't match medical records. It wasn't hard to figure out you had a twin. Then why didn't you say anything? He turned to look at me, and his face was a mask of cold fury. Because I wanted to see how far you'd take the lie. I wanted to see if you'd ever have the courage to tell me the truth. You didn't. I was trying to protect. Don't. He cut me off. Don't tell me you were protecting me or protecting your sister. You were protecting yourself. And in the process, you made me look like a fool. That's not true. Junjin, please just let me explain. There's nothing to explain. You committed fraud. You signed a contract with a false identity. You married me under false pretenses. That's called identity theft, forgery, and about 6 other crimes I can prosecute you for. The word prosecute hit me like a physical blow. You wouldn't. Wouldn't I? You lied to me, betrayed me, made me feel things for someone who doesn't even exist. His voice dropped to something dangerous. I told you what I do to liars. I'm sorry. Sorry doesn't fix this. Sorry doesn't undo months of deception. Sorry doesn't make me not want to destroy you for what you've done. Then do it, destroy me, call the police, end this, I deserve it. Oh, I'm not calling the police. He moved closer and I backed up until I hit the wall. He put a hand on either side of my head, caging me in. That would be too easy, too quick. No, Tina, you're going to stay married to me. You're going to finish this contract. And every single day, you're going to remember that I know exactly who you are and I'm choosing to keep you here anyway. Why? Because I can. Because you signed a contract and I'm going to hold you to every clause. Because watching you squirm is more satisfying than watching you disappear. That's cruel. That's justice. He pushed away from the wall, went back to his desk. You'll continue to act as my wife in public, you'll attend events, you'll smile for cameras, you'll play your part perfectly, and in private you'll stay out of my way. We're done pretending there's anything real between us. Last night was a mistake. One I won't repeat. Now get out, I have actual work to do. I left. What choice did I have? I went to my room, locked the door, and cried until I couldn't breathe. I destroyed everything, hurt someone who'd started to care about me, ruined the first real thing I'd had in years, and the worst part? I deserved every bit of his anger. Days passed. We lived in the same space but didn't speak. He went to work. I stayed home. We attended one event where we smiled for cameras and let people believe we were happy. The second the cameras were off, we were strangers again. A week later, the real Renee showed up at the penthouse. She waltzed in like she owned the place, designer clothes and perfect makeup and that confident smile that made me want to scream. Tina, we need to talk. Get out. I came to help. To explain to Junjin that this was all my idea. He knows, he's known for weeks, and your help is the last thing I need. I'm trying to fix this. You can't fix it. You destroyed my life, Renee. You used me, you lied to me. You put me in an impossible situation, and now I'm paying for your crimes. Our crimes, you agreed to this. Because you manipulated me. Junjin appeared in the doorway. He looked at Renee, and something cold and calculating crossed his face. So this is the real Renee Park. The woman I was supposed to marry. Renee turned on her charm, extending her hand. Mr. Park, I apologize for the confusion. There were extenuating circumstances. Save it. He didn't shake her hand. I know about your fraud investigation, about your failing company, about how you sent your sister into my life because you were too much of a coward to face your own problems. Renee's smile faltered. That's not. Get out of my home. If I see you near Tina again, if you contact her, if you so much as think about her, I will personally ensure that your investigation ends with you in prison. Do you understand? You can't do that. I'm one of the most powerful men in Korea. I can do anything I want, and what I want is you gone, now. Renee looked at me, and for the first time I saw fear in her eyes. Tina, leave, I said quietly. Just leave. She left. And I realized that despite everything, Junjin had just protected me, had chosen me over her, even though he hated me. Thank you, I whispered. He didn't look at me. Don't thank me. I did that for me, not for you. She's a liability. I eliminate liabilities. I'm a liability too. Yes, but you're a liability I'm legally bound to, so you stay. He walked away, and I stood there wondering how something so protective could feel so cold. 2 days later, I found something that changed everything. I'd been feeling sick, tired, emotional beyond what even this disaster could explain. I'd chalked it up to stress until I missed my period, then missed it again. The pregnancy test sat on the bathroom counter like a bomb. 2 pink lines. Positive, I was pregnant. I tried to remember the timeline. That night after his office, before we'd stopped talking, before everything fell apart, we'd been reckless and desperate and stupid. I was pregnant with the child of a man who hated me. I sat on the floor and tried to figure out what to do. Tell him, run, disappear and never come back. Every option felt impossible. The decision was taken from me when Junjin walked into the bathroom and saw the test on the counter. He looked at it, looked at me. His face showed nothing. Is it mine? He asked quietly. I think so. I don't know. It's been a strange few months. Don't play games. Is it mine? Yes, it's yours. He picked up the test, studied those 2 pink lines like they held the secrets of the universe. How far along? Maybe 6 weeks. I'm not sure. You're not sure. I'm not sure of anything anymore, Junjin. My whole life is a lie. I'm pregnant with a baby I didn't plan, married to a man who hates me. My sister destroyed my life. I'm drowning and I don't know how to stop. He was quiet for a long time. Then he set down the test and sat on the floor next to me. I don't hate you, he said finally. You should. I should, but I don't. I hate what you did. I hate that you lied, but you. He looked at me and something in his eyes had softened. I can't hate you. I've tried. Believe me, I've tried. Why? Because somewhere in all those lies I saw something real, the woman who cried in my kitchen, the woman who looked at me like I was human instead of a monster, the woman who kissed me like she meant it. That woman was real, wasn't she? Tears streamed down my face. Yes, that woman is me, the real me. Tina, not Renee, just me. Then maybe we start there, with the real you, with the truth. Can you do that? I can try. Trying isn't sufficient. Then I'll succeed, no more lies, I promise. He reached out slowly and placed his hand on my still flat stomach. We're having a baby. We're having a baby. I don't know how to do this. Neither do I, he laughed, and it was the first real laugh I'd heard from him in weeks. We're a disaster. Completely. But maybe we can be a disaster together. I leaned my head on his shoulder and he didn't pull away. No more lies. No more lies, just us, the real us. I don't even know who that is. Then we'll figure it out together. We sat there on the bathroom floor, two broken people trying to build something real from the rubble of our lies. It wasn't romantic. It wasn't perfect. But it was honest, and maybe that was enough. 6 weeks later, we sat in a doctor's office staring at an ultrasound screen. A tiny blob that the doctor assured us was our baby. Junjin held my hand so tight it almost hurt. Everything looks healthy, the doctor said. Heartbeat is strong. You're about 10 weeks along now. 10 weeks, 2.5 months, half my contract term. Thank you, I managed. In the car afterward, Junjin was quiet. Then, do you want to keep it? The baby. The marriage, the contract ends in 3.5 months. You could leave, take your money, raise the baby on your own. Is that what you want? I'm asking what you want. I thought about it, really thought about it, about running away, starting over, being free of this mess. But when I tried to imagine my life without Junjin in it, even the angry, complicated version of him, something in my chest ached. I want to stay, I said quietly. Not because of the contract or the money. Because I want to see if we can make this real. He pulled over suddenly, parked on the side of the road, and kissed me. Really kissed me, like he'd been holding back for weeks and couldn't anymore. I want that too, he said against my lips. I want you, the real you, Tina, not Renee, not Mrs. Park, just you. You're sure? I'm sure. So we tried, really tried. He took me on actual dates where we talked about real things. I told him about my childhood, my dreams, my failures. He told me about the pressure of his legacy, his father's impossible expectations, his fear that he'd never be enough. We learned each other slowly. The way I took my coffee. The way he couldn't sleep without white noise. How I loved old movies and he secretly watched romantic comedies when he thought no one knew. How he gave to charity anonymously because he didn't want recognition, just to help. We attended a birthing class where we were the youngest couple by 20 years. We picked out furniture for a nursery. We argued about names and laughed about how terrified we both were. And slowly, the fake marriage became something real. But the past has a way of catching up. 4 months into the pregnancy, a news alert flashed on Junjin's phone at breakfast. He read it and his expression went dark. What? I asked. He turned the phone toward me. The headline made my blood freeze. Renee Park returns to Seoul with explosive claims about her sister's marriage. No. I grabbed my phone, pulled up the article. Renee had given an interview to a major news outlet. In it, she claimed I'd stolen her identity, tricked Junjin into marriage, and defrauded her family. She painted herself as the victim and me as the villain. She's lying, I said. Junjin, you know she's lying. I know. His voice was dangerously calm. But the public doesn't, and the board will use this to challenge my leadership again. What do we do? He stood, pulled out his phone, made a call. I need a press conference scheduled for this afternoon. No, not tomorrow, today, get it done. He hung up, looked at me. We fight, we tell the truth, all of it, are you ready? I don't know. That's not good enough. Tina, if we do this, if we go public with our story, there's no going back. The world will know everything. Your lies, my role in it, all of it. Can you handle that? I thought about the baby growing inside me. About the man I'd grown to love despite everything. About the life we were trying to build from lies and mistakes and desperate choices. Yes, I said. I can handle it. Let's fight. The press conference was chaos. Cameras everywhere, reporters shouting questions, the weight of the world's judgment pressing down on us. But Junjin stood next to me, his hand in mine, and we faced it together. I have a statement, Junjin said, and the room quieted. 4 months ago, I married a woman I believed to be Renee Park. I was wrong. Her name is Tina. And yes, she lied about her identity, but the circumstances are more complex than they appear. He explained everything. The blind date, the contract, Renee's manipulation, my desperation, our discovery of the truth, our choice to make it real. "I'm not asking for your forgiveness," he said. "I'm not asking you to understand. I'm telling you that I love my wife, the real her, and we're having a child together. This marriage may have started as a lie, but it's real now, and nothing my sister-in-law says or does will change that." The reporters erupted with questions, but Junjin ignored them. He turned to me, cupped my face in his hands, and kissed me in front of everyone. When he pulled back, he whispered, "No more lies, just us." "Just us," I agreed. The fallout was intense. Some people supported us, others condemned us. Renee tried to press charges, but with Junjin's lawyers and the evidence of her manipulation, her case fell apart. She disappeared from public view, her reputation destroyed by her own lies. The board challenged Junjin's leadership, but he fought back with every resource at his disposal. Slowly, methodically, he rebuilt trust and proved he was stronger than any scandal. And through it all, we had each other. 5 months later, I went into labor at 3 a.m. Junjin drove like a maniac to the hospital, held my hand through every contraction, and cried when our daughter was born. She was perfect, tiny and loud and absolutely perfect. "What should we name her?" I asked, exhausted and happy. Junjin looked at me, then at our daughter, and smiled. "Hope. Let's name her Hope." "Why Hope?" "Because she's proof that something beautiful can grow from something broken. She's our hope, our future, our truth." So we named her Hope. And as I held her and watched Junjin watch us with love in his eyes, I realized that maybe the worst mistake of my life had led me to the best thing I'd ever have. But we weren't done fighting yet. One morning, while Hope slept in her nursery and Junjin made coffee, his phone buzzed. A news alert. He read it, and I watched his jaw tighten. "What now?" I asked, tired of drama. "Renee's back. She's filed a new lawsuit, claiming she's entitled to half the settlement money from our contract since it was technically her marriage." I laughed, actually laughed. "She's unbelievable. She's desperate, and desperate people are dangerous. So what do we do?" He set down his phone, came to where I sat, pulled me to my feet. "We do what we've been doing, we fight together. She can file all the lawsuits she wants. She can make all the claims she wants, but she can't touch this. Us, our family, that's real, and she can't take it away." "You're sure?" "I've never been more sure of anything." He kissed me softly. "I love you, Tina, the real you, the woman who cries in kitchens and fails at lying and makes me want to be better than I am. I love you. And I'm not letting anyone destroy that." "I love you too," I whispered, "even though you're terrifying and ruthless and entirely too good at getting your way. Especially because of that." We heard Hope cry from the nursery. Junjin went to get her while I poured coffee, and as I watched him walk down the hall toward our daughter, I thought about everything that had led us here. The lies, the mistakes, the desperate choices, all of it had been wrong, all of it had been terrible. But somehow it had led me to this moment, to this family, to this life. My phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. "This isn't over, you stole my life, I'm taking it back." Renee, of course. I showed Junjin the text when he came back with Hope in his arms. He read it, deleted it, and handed me the phone. "Let her try, we've survived worse." "Have we?" "We survived each other, everything else is easy." He was right. We'd survived lies and betrayal and our own worst choices. We'd built something real from nothing. And whatever came next, we'd face it the same way we'd faced everything else. Together. As I stood in our kitchen with my husband and daughter, surrounded by the life we'd fought for, I realized something. I'd pretended to be my twin sister on a blind date and accidentally married Korea's most dangerous CEO. It should have been the worst decision of my life. Instead, it was the best thing that ever happened to me. And if Renee wanted to fight, let her come. We'd be ready. Because we weren't pretending anymore. This was real, this was us, and we weren't going anywhere. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the bell so you won't miss any of our future content. Drop a comment below. I'd love to hear your thoughts. See you in the next one.